let's talk about one of the most intense competitive exams on the entire planet, the Joint Entrance Examination, or JEE. It's not just a test, it's a massive challenge of knowledge, strategy, and pure endurance. But what if I told you there's a code to crack it?
I mean, that really is the question, isn't it? The numbers are just mind-boggling. Millions of students are competing for just a handful of spots. We're talking a success rate that's way, way less than 1%. So how do you get an edge? How do you make sure you're one of the ones who gets through? Well, there's a whole new wave of educators who are tackling this exact problem online. On YouTube channels like Vedantu, Alan, and Eduniti, they're doing more than just teaching subjects. They're literally decoding the exam itself. By digging through years of papers and analyzing all the trends, they figured out a kind of formula, a blueprint for success in the modern era. And right now, we're going to piece that formula together for you. Okay, first things first, the blueprint. This isn't about studying harder. It's about studying smarter. The big consensus among all these digital mentors is that you have to put your energy where it's going to have the biggest impact. And it all boils down to one single powerful number. 20%. Just let that sit there for a second. It seems almost too small, right? Way too simple for an exam this complicated. But trust me, this one number is the absolute key to preparing strategically. And here's why. This is basically the 80-20 rule in action. As Shilpi Mom from Vedantu says, about 80% of the questions you'll face come from just 20% of the syllabus. Now, that's not just a guess, it's a conclusion they've reached after analyzing tons of past papers. So rule number 1 of this code is to find that high-yield 20% and master it. So you're probably wondering, what's in that magic 20%? Well, after watching dozens of videos, a super clear pattern starts to show up for both physics and chemistry. These aren't just kind of important topics. These are the non-negotiables, the must-do areas that consistently bring in the most marks. For physics, the list is incredibly consistent. Seriously, everyone from Alan JEE to Eduniti points to these same heavy hitters. Modern physics is almost always at the very top, mostly because it's super formula-based and often less complicated than, say, mechanics. Right behind it, you've got the whole world of electrodynamics, thermodynamics, and optics. If you can master these 4 areas, you are giving yourself a massive, massive advantage. And over in chemistry, the gurus are saying the exact same thing. Coordination compounds, especially concepts like crystal field theory that explain their structure, are an absolute must. Then there's the mole concept, specifically stoichiometry, which is just the math behind chemical reactions. It's so crucial because it gets mixed into all sorts of other problems. And in organic chem, reactions involving alkenes and aldehydes get flagged again and again as high-scoring zones. Okay, so that's the what. You have your high-yield blueprint. But look, that's only half the battle. Now we need to talk about the how. The actual method you use to practice is just as important as the topics you pick. The approach here is basically a 4-step process. First, you have to analyze past papers yourself to really see the patterns. Second, you nail down the key formulas for those high-yield topics. Anup Gupta sir from Alan actually points out that a huge part of the paper is just plugging things into formulas. Third, you target the question types you see over and over. And finally, and this is so important, you practice problems that mix different concepts together. And that brings us to a huge trend in the exam right now. The NTA, the group that sets the paper, is making more and more of these multi-concept questions. As you'll hear on channels like Vedantu and Kshittis Konik, you might get a problem that starts with an aldehyde reaction, but then makes you use stoichiometry to figure out the final answer. This means studying chapters one by one in isolation just doesn't work anymore. You have to train your brain to connect all the dots. So we have the blueprint, and we have the method. But there is one last piece to this code. And you know what? It might just be the most important piece of all. It's the mindset. This exam is a marathon, and your mental game is what determines if you cross that finish line. This quote, you hear it all the time on channels like Alan G, and it just captures the spirit perfectly. It basically translates to, until we crack it, we won't quit. This says everything about the kind of relentless determination you need. It shows that this isn't just a test of your brain, it's a test of your will. And that determination is built on a few core principles. First, like Anu Gupta sir says, scoring well isn't a luxury. It's a necessity if you want to beat the competition. That means your prep isn't just something you do when you feel like it, it's essential. This means you have to be brutally honest with yourself about where you're weak.
And it means putting in the work every single day. Consistency beats short bursts of intense cramming. In the end, confidence isn't something you just hope for. It's something you build, one practice problem at a time.
So let's put this all together. What does this modern formula for cracking the JEE actually look like? Well, when you combine the blueprint, the method, and the mindset, you get a complete code for how to prepare.
And honestly, this table lays out the whole strategy perfectly. The blueprint tells you what to focus on, that critical 20%. The method tells you how to study by finding patterns and practicing the same way the exam is designed. And the mindset, that gives you the why. It's the inner drive and the toughness to see it all the way through. Put them together, and you've got the digital guru's code.
And it kind of leaves you with one last big thought. This entire approach, it's all built on analyzing real-time exam data, and it's being delivered by mentors who can reach millions of people instantly online. It's this dynamic, data-driven way of learning. So the real question is, are we watching the future of education unfold right in front of us? A future where learning is guided less by dusty old textbooks and more by the real-time collective intelligence of our digital guides.